Welcome back to another video. We all want to use the cloud, but unfortunately it is so expensive that a lot of us feel very intimidating to start using the cloud or just turn off completely because the bill is so huge. So in this video, I wanted to cover a few tips about how you can reduce your cloud cost, and I rank these tips on the very common scale of duh to what the fuck. So get ready to have your mind blown with this beautiful collection of tips, especially the last ones, which will literally blow your mind, because I call them the nuclear tips. It's a nice little family of options for saving money. Let's go. Our first advice is what I call the boomer advice, which is get a job and make more money. Well, obviously, this is a ridiculous advice. I didn't make this money by getting a job or, working hard. I just went on Amazon and found prop money and I just bought it. And now I'm a millionaire, I think. Oh, probably not. But the point is, don't let lack of money intimidate you. There are ways to save money in the cloud, and that's what this video is for. Now keep watching because I'm hopeful that with this video, you'll be able to do a lot more in the cloud and spend a lot less. All right, now real tip number 1, or 1A. Figure out how much you're willing to spend in the cloud. Now, that sounds like a very duh advice, and it is, but I think it's very important for everything we're going to do going forward. You need to figure out how much money you're willing to spend. If you don't have a budget in mind, it's very hard. If it changes month to month, it's also very hard to address. So try to figure out maybe how much you want to spend during the year divided by 12, and that's how much your budget is. Part 2 of this tip, so part B, we're going to go to Azure and we're going to set up what's called a budget alert. With your budget in mind, what you're going to do is you're going to go to your Azure subscription, you're going to go to cost management, right, and billing. You go here, you go to budgets with a scope having to do with your billing. Don't put that scope on a subscription level. Don't put that scope on a resource group. Put that scope in your billing level. Here you can change, so you can have a lot deeper. You want to be at the billing scope right here, the one with the circle and the dollar sign. What this means is that everything you create in your Azure account will be counted under that scope. So if you decide you want to add a new subscription for separating your services by subscription, that will be included. If you decide to do a new resource group, new resources, everything will be included. So it's very important to not do it at the subscription level, because if you decide to do a new subscription, you will be completely blind to these costs. We're going to select just the billing account. You just do that by clicking on the circle. If you click on your name or whatever, it's going to go deeper. Click on that, select that. So here what you want to do is create a budget. What this means is how much are you willing to spend, right? A budget. Here we're going to say YouTube video budget because I already have one and we need underscores, right? Okay, no spaces. Then we say we want to evaluate that monthly or quarterly or annually. Ideally, you want to do it monthly because annually could be, gives you less wiggle room, right? So now we want to start today, which is February 1st. And we want to expire in 2 years, which is the default. You can expire anytime, but we'll leave it at 2 years. Then it says $48 for my budget. I doubt it. I'm going to say I want my budget to be $25. That should be about right. So here it shows you based on what you've used, so all that stuff. Here, $25 wouldn't have been enough for these months, right? So we would have blown way past these in these previous months, November, October. Let's see, if we look at January, we should be fine. Or even October, August to September, we should be fine. So look at that red line. That gives you an idea of your budget and how good it is. For me, I think it's good. These two are just mistakes where I created very big resources and cost me a lot of money and I didn't have a budget in place. Next, we want to set up an alert. So here we can select an alert type, and we have a difference between actual and forecasted. So the difference between actual and forecasted is that actual means you've already incurred these costs. You've already spent that money. It's gone. Or you will be charged that money. Forecasting means the Azure algorithm will try to predict what your cost will be, and it will set up an alert for the total cost over the month or the period. So either monthly or quarterly or annually, right? It will forecast this and say, hey, you're about to hit this. I like actual better than forecasted because forecast can be very wrong, especially earlier in the month. If you have a very expensive resource, let's say you spent $2 in one day, and then it's going to say, well, you know what? This person is spending $2 every day. I'm going to forecast this as $60 this month, when in fact it's just one-time use, right? So what I like to do is set up two orders. The first one is actual, and I say 50% of my budget. This is the amount I want to reach at the midpoint of the month. So 15th of the month, if I haven't gotten that alert, I'm good. It means I'm on track. Then I'm going to do another one, again, actual, where I reach, let's say, 100%. So my budget is blown. At this time, I've already spent that, and I need to go and revisit what I'm spending. And then I put my alert, my email address, language. You can have a different language if you prefer to have it in Chinese or Czech or Danish or whatever in that list. And then you click create, and that will give you an alert. So it will evaluate on a regular basis, see where you stand, and it will give you an alert based on your budget. All right, tip number 2. So tip number 2 has to do with organization. You have to organize your projects properly, right? So in order to save money, what I do is I organize my projects in resource groups, right? So for example, I have a core that's automation. I have an automation account in here. I have a virtual desktop. I don't think there's anything in here, but I organize my little projects that I work on in resource group. What this allows me to do is say that if I am done with a project, I can go in and delete all the resources associated with this project, because sometimes it can get very confusing what resource belongs to what project, and you don't want to break another project because you want to delete one project. And so it's very hard if you mix everything together into one resource group or a few resource group or whatever you have. If you don't separate by project, you can't delete. You're afraid that something is going to break, and that makes it a cost, right? I don't want to delete this public IP. I don't know where it belongs. I'm going to leave it there. That's going to be a cost I'm going to take. No. Separate your projects by resource group, and this way you can easily figure out what belongs where. Now, tip number 3 goes beyond tip number 2, and that is break out your projects by subscription. Create new subscription, entirely new subscriptions for your projects. Here you can see this is my job interview simulator. This is what I use to, if you've seen my previous videos about the job interview simulator, this is where it belongs. This is all the resources associated with it. There is nothing outside of this project in there. So if one day I decide I am done with this project, I will kill it, all I have to do is go into my subscription, cancel the subscription, everything will get deleted, and that will be done. No question, that will just all be gone at once. And I like doing this much, much, much better than resource group, because you know 100% of what is in this subscription belongs to that project. And you can create as many subscriptions as you want. There's probably a limit, I don't know it, but it's a lot more than you have projects to do. I can tell you that. So do yourself a favor, do it this way, so this way it's easier for you to manage your project. Tip number 3, there's no reason to be surprised of your cloud bill at the end of the month. There's this tool that is provided by Azure, but every other cloud provider also provides this tool, which is the pricing calculator. So in the pricing calculator, you can define the infrastructure that you want to deploy and get an idea of how much things cost. So let's say, for example, I want a Kubernetes cluster, so an AKS in Azure, and so it's going to add it. And I say, okay, I want to run in East US. I want the pricing tier to be free. I'm going to have one cluster. I'm going to do, let's say, a B2 series. So it's cheap. I'm going to run it for 2 days because I want to experiment with that. And then let's say I also want to have a manage this. So I want to have one. So this is per month, right? This is the price per month. So if we do 1.54 divided by 31 times 2, that's 9 cents. Okay, we should be good. And there we go. Now we have the price. We know this is going to cost $3.53 at most if I run it for 2 days. But I highly encourage you of figuring out if you can afford the bill for the whole month, right? Because if you can't afford the bill for the whole month, then if you make a mistake and you forget to remove it or whatever, you'll have to pay for that bill. So get an idea of how much your experimentations, your projects, and things like that are going to cost you before you actually deploy the resource. You can add multiple resources. You can do your full infrastructure. You can have as much as you want, and it will give you the total bill. Here, $55. It went up, right? I added a few resources. So, what is this? Cosmos DB, right? Now I can say, okay, no SQL, provision throughput. No, we're going to put serverless. See that our bill is already going down because serverless is cheaper. So use the pricing calculator. Make sure you understand what you're using. Make sure you understand how it is built. You can also have a little bit more information about the pricing details. See, you click on the information, go on the details, and it will give you information about how it's built, how it's calculated. You have some pricing tables also. So let's say we're here and let's say we want to go to Qatar Central, just a random one. Okay, so now you know if you want to run in Qatar Central, that's more expensive. Now you also change your currency. So use that pricing calculator. Use the resources that are provided to you so that you know upfront how much you can expect to pay. Now, of course, your actual cost will be different than what the calculator says because there's things like how much you use it, how much data transfer you have, and all that stuff. It gets harder and harder the more detailed you want to be to predict the cost, but it will give you a rough idea of how much it's going to cost. Right. Tip number 4. So I have this dashboard, and because it's February 1st, it doesn't really work. But here I have a cost. My cost is on my dashboard at all times. I can see how much I've spent. If we go to the previous month, or is it last month? There you go. Let's see how much I spent last month. I spent $6.43. No, $25.44. Sorry. As you can see, my budget of $25 is not that far off. There's just a few things here, little mistake right here. But what you can do is go to cost management. Again, go to cost analysis. Make sure the scope is, again, your entire billing scope, not just a subscription. And see, it will also put you the budget. And you pin that to your dashboard, right? So if we go back to our dashboard, now it's here. This view is now here. So now that you have this graph on your dashboard and you make the dashboard your default view, so you can do this by going to settings, and then you go to appearance and startup view. And here you can do startup page home, which is the default Microsoft one, or you do dashboard. And I selected dashboard because that's what I want. And so this is more custom. I can see my costs and all that stuff. Now, tip number 5. Tip number 5 is use infrastructure as code. Whether you do it with a PowerShell script or Terraform or CloudFormation or what have you, use infrastructure as code. This allows you to delete resources in a friendly way and allows you to have a way of recreating infrastructure that you wouldn't have if you did everything manually. So this is the job interview simulator again, and I have all my infrastructure done as Terraform. So let's go to backend. See, I have everything done using Terraform. This allows me to create my resources the way I want them. And if I ever feel like I don't want to deal with this project anymore because it's costing me money and I don't use it, I can delete everything and then go back into Terraform, run the plan, run the infrastructure code, and get my project back up as if it was never gone. If you have projects, just use Terraform, run your code, do your project, delete everything, and if you want to recreate this project again, just run your code again. So you have GitHub workflows, deploy infrastructure, right? That's a workflow, and I have all my secrets and all that stuff, and it will go and run. And my deployment here is commented out because I don't want it to do anything. Now, we're entering what I call the nuclear round, which is all the tips that involve automatically deleting resources to save money. So the first one I have for you is one that requires you to tag your resources, and that's using an automation account. So using an automation account, and I haven't used it in a while, so bear with me. Using an automation account, we can delete resources. So here I am looking for a tag that I called expiration date. So if I tag a resource with an expiration date, right? At some point, this is going to be deleted. And the idea with this is I will run this code regularly. And if I find a resource in my subscription that is past due, I will go and delete a resource, no matter what. So this allows you to have projects and allows you to create resources that you may forget about. You know, it's like, I'm going to do this, but then, what if I forget about this? Well, if you tag it properly, or you can do that through infrastructure as code, right? Say I want all my resources that I deploy to expire in like 10 days, whatever. This script will go and delete your resources. So it's very, very practical and very nuclear. So if I forget to remove that tag, or if I forget to update it, it's going to still go and delete that resource whether I want it or not. Okay, tip number 7, and that's one that I have not implemented myself, but it's very fun. All right, so remember on the budget how I told you you have to set that at the billing level, not the subscription level? Well, we're going to change that. So here, what you can do is you can go on your subscription and you can go to budgets. Now, we're going to create a new budget for that subscription specifically just for this purpose, because there are things you can do at the subscription level that you cannot do at the billing level, and that is add action groups. So let me do this. Let's put a budget of, let's say $5. Here we're going to say 120%. And here we're going to add what's called an action group. So an action group is something that you use for messages and alerting, and it allows you to predefine what you want to do when you receive an alert. So here we're going to say whatever. You know what? We're going to put in core resources. And here, let's call it, okay. Now, only 12 characters for the display name. Who cares? Then we're going to go to notifications. Now, I can send an email. That's one thing. Order. cool. But now, here's where the fun begins. You can add actions. You can add automation to that. So you can point it to a runbook, like for example, the one I showed before, or you can connect it to a webhook or an Azure function or what have you. And you can use this webhook, Azure functions, or what have you, to delete your resources based on the alert. So let's say you can say project number 1, 2, 3. You can say, hey, I have this order of priority. If it costs too much, delete this project. If it still costs too much, delete the next one and the next one, or based on when it was created or what have you. You can have an action group that will delete resources for you, or will go and stop all your virtual machines or whatever you have. So use that to reduce your cost based on certain alerts. And you can say, based on my alert, and I'm not going to create it, but you can say if I get 50%, go to my action group and boom, kill everything. Or 120%. If I go over budget, kill everything. So that's a nuclear option, but it's a great option. It's absolutely amazing. I haven't done it because I'm okay with the costs that I have, but very, very practical to do. Very nuclear way of reducing your cost. All right, now tip number 8. All right, so this tip is another nuclear one, and that is creating resources that destroy themselves. I have done a few self-destruct scripts in my time that was very fun, but now we're going to actually delete infrastructure after we're done using it, and we're going to have that infrastructure destroy itself. Now, I created a virtual machine here for us to play with. I'm putting it in the resource group because I'm going to delete the whole resource group. I'm not going to bother with individual pieces of said resource group. So I have a virtual machine here. All right, so we're in the virtual machine. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go to identity. You can do that when you create the resource. I'm going to do it after. I'm assuming you may have created a virtual machine. Then you go to identity and you assign a system-assigned identity. Now, what this is an identity for the virtual machine to be able to interact with other resources without providing username and passwords or anything like that. It's very practical to be safe because only this machine has access to this identity. And I'll show you how. Now, what we want to do, we have our identity. We want to go to our resource group. We want to go to access control, and we want to assign a role to this machine. We're going to grant it owner permission. We're going to select manage identity. We're going to select our members. Here, we're going to select the virtual machine, and we will take our virtual machine here. Boom. Select, review and assign, All right, now let's go to our virtual machine. So here, we're now in our virtual machine, and I wrote this quick little self-destruct script, which basically imports the modules for AZ accounts and AZ resources. AZ accounts is to log in, AZ resources to manage resources. I also installed all the modules so we can use them. And let's run this. So here we're doing connect AZ account and with the managed identity that we just added. If we press play, we're going to connect to Azure with our managed identity. The only thing this managed identity has access to is this current resource group. And there you go. We can see this resource group ID. So now we're going to self-destruct. We go to remove AZ resource group. And we say force, and that's it. And now you know what's going to happen. I'm going to click play. And at some point, I will lose connection to this machine because the resource group is being deleted. Now, be careful when you do this. I've checked multiple times that the resource group I'm going to be deleted is the proper one. And there we go. And so this is running. It's deleting a resource group. And yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see how long it takes. Boom. Look at that. Immediately the machine was turned off. It's just taking a little bit, and there you go. Just like that, it's gone. Nothing else in here. Pretty sure that if I refresh this page, it's going to be like, hey, resource group not found. There you go. So that's it. That's how it's done. It took forever. I sped this up a little bit, but it did it eventually. So this is a self-destruct script. It's awesome because you can just be like, hey, I'm going to run this script, but then I don't need this virtual machine anymore. I just need it to run this script. Do this. Boom. Virtual machine, gone. So if you like this video, if you're still here, subscribe or watch this video right here. I think you're going to enjoy it. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.